I stole $12,000 from my parents' house when I was 19, and I let my sister spend 10 years thinking she did it. My parents kept cash in a safe in their bedroom. Not smart, I know. But back then, I was broke and desperate. My college loans were piling up. My car needed repairs. I was dating this guy named Marcus, who kept talking about how we should travel, how we should start fresh somewhere new. I wanted that life so bad. I wanted to be free. One night when my parents were asleep, I opened the safe. They'd shown me the combo years before, back when they trusted me. I counted out 12 grand in hundreds and fifties. My hands were shaking. I knew it was wrong. I did it anyway. I hid the money in my apartment. I told Marcus we could go to California. We started planning. For 2 weeks, I felt alive. Then my mom discovered the money was gone. She called a family meeting. My parents, me, and my sister Sarah. Sarah was 22. She'd always been the wild one. She partied, she stayed out late. She'd had money problems before. My mom looked at all of us and said, "Someone took the cash from the safe. I want to know who." My dad was quiet. He just stared at the floor. I felt my heart pounding so hard I thought they could hear it. Sarah was looking at her phone, not even paying attention. And I realized in that moment that I could let this happen. I could stay silent. She'd get blamed. She always got blamed for everything. My mom turned to Sarah. "Was it you?" Sarah looked up. "What? No. Don't lie to me. You need money all the time. You're always broke." "I didn't take your money, Mom." But my mom didn't believe her. None of them did. I watched Sarah's face go red. I watched her try to defend herself, and I said nothing. I just sat there. Sarah got furious. "Fine, you want to think it's me? Think it. I don't care." She walked out and slammed her door. My parents were devastated. Not because of the money, because they thought their daughter had stolen from them, from their own home. Sarah moved out 3 months later. She said she couldn't live in a house where nobody trusted her. My parents tried to fix it, but the damage was done. She barely spoke to them for years. She wouldn't come home for holidays. She wouldn't take their calls, and I did nothing. I went to California with Marcus. We broke up after 8 months. I got a job, finished my degree, built a normal life. And the whole time my sister was angry and hurt and alone because of me. 10 years went by. Sarah got married. She had a kid. She still barely talked to my parents. When I saw her at events, she was cold to me. I didn't understand why at first. Then I realized she probably sensed something, like she knew. When my dad got sick last year, Sarah came home to help. My mom was crying all the time. My dad was scared. And one night, Sarah and I were sitting in the kitchen alone. "You know I didn't take that money, right?" My chest went tight. "Sarah, I know you know. I've always known you know." I couldn't lie anymore. I told her everything. How I needed money. How I was selfish. How I watched her get destroyed and said nothing. Sarah didn't yell. That made it worse. She just looked at me and said, "Do you have any idea what that did to me? Do you know what it's like to have your own family think you're a thief? To lose 10 years with them because they didn't trust me?" I tried to apologize. She held up her hand. "I don't want your apology. I want you to tell Mom and Dad the truth." I did. That same night, my parents cried. They said they were sorry for not believing Sarah, but I could see it in their eyes. They were looking at me like I was a stranger. Sarah won't talk to me now. My parents try to keep the peace, but it's not the same. That theft wasn't just about money. It was about breaking trust that might never come back. I think about that night all the time. How easy it was to stay quiet. How one choice rippled out and hurt everyone around me. Sarah lost a decade with our family. I found out my wife had a secret child from before we met, and she's been hiding the kid's existence for our entire 7-year marriage. Let me back up. My wife is Sarah. I'm 34. She's 32. We met in college, dated for 3 years, got married 7 years ago. I thought I knew her completely. We talked about everything, or so I thought. 2 weeks ago, I was cleaning out our garage and found an old box Sarah had labeled Keep. Inside were photos, school pictures, birthday cards, a birth certificate for a boy named Lucas, born when Sarah was 19. The date on the certificate made my stomach turn. We were already dating when this kid was born. I couldn't move. I just stood there holding this paper, trying to make sense of it. Lucas would be 13 now, 13 years old, and I've never heard his name once. I waited until that night when we were in bed. I didn't yell. I was too confused to yell. "Sarah, who is Lucas?" She went pale, like actually white. She didn't even ask how I knew. "Where did you find that?" "The garage, the box. Who is he?" She sat up and just stared at the wall. For like 2 minutes she didn't say anything. "He's my son, from before everything." "Before everything?" "Sarah, we were dating. We were dating when he was born. We've been married 7 years. Where is he? Why have I never met him? Why didn't you tell me?" She started crying, real tears. "I gave him up for adoption. When I was 19, I got pregnant. I wasn't ready. My parents weren't ready. I just couldn't do it. So I had him and I gave him to a family who could give him what I couldn't." I felt like the air got sucked out of the room. "You gave him up? You mean you never told me? Not when we started dating? Not when we got serious? Not when we got married? Not once in 7 years? I didn't know how to tell you. The more time went by, the harder it got. I was ashamed. I didn't want you to think I was a bad person. I'm not mad you had a kid at 19. I'm mad you lied to me for 7 years. That's not something you just forget to mention. I know it's bad. I'm sorry. But sorry doesn't fix this. Not even close." I asked her if there was anything else she was hiding. She said no, but I don't believe her anymore. How can I? She kept an entire child a secret. What else is there? The worst part is I don't know what to do with this information. Do I feel betrayed? Yes. Do I feel lied to? Absolutely. But I also don't know if this is a marriage-ending thing, or if it's something we can work through with help. I told her I needed space. I've been sleeping in the spare room for a week. She keeps trying to talk about it, saying she wants to explain more, saying she wants us to go to therapy. But I'm not ready to hear more. Yesterday, she told me that Lucas has been reaching out to her through one of those adoption websites. He wants to meet her. He's 13, and he's looking for answers about who he is and where he comes from. And Sarah doesn't know what to do. I told her that's her decision to make, but it made me realize something. If she meets him, our whole life changes. We have to tell people. We have to figure out what role he plays in our family. Everything gets messy and complicated. But here's the thing that really gets me. She didn't tell me about any of this. Not about Lucas reaching out. Not about him looking for her. I found out about her son by accident, and now I'm wondering what else I don't know. I love Sarah, but I don't know if I can trust her anymore. And a marriage without trust is just two people living in the same house. My sister faked a serious illness for 2 years to get money from me, and when I found out, I refused to help her when she actually got sick. Let me back up. My sister Emma is 2 years younger than me. We've always been close, or at least I thought we were. When she was 24, she told me she got diagnosed with early-stage cancer. She said the treatments were expensive, and her insurance wouldn't cover everything. I didn't even hesitate. I gave her $8,000 from my savings. Then she said she needed more for a special surgery, another $6,500. Over 2 years, I gave her almost $22,000. I was happy to do it. She's my sister. I thought I was helping save her life. But last month, my mom accidentally mentioned something weird. She was talking about Emma's new apartment, and she said, I can't believe she's finally using that money for something smart. I asked what money. My mom got quiet. Then it all came out. Emma never had cancer. She made it up. She'd been getting treatment from a clinic across town, but it was for fertility stuff, not cancer. She didn't want anyone to know she was struggling to get pregnant, so she lied. She told everyone cancer and took money from me, from our aunt, from our grandpa. In total, she stole almost $60,000 from family. I called her immediately. I was shaking when I dialed. Emma, I need to talk to you about something. Hey, what's up? Did you lie about having cancer? There was this long pause. Then she started crying. Yes, I'm so sorry. I couldn't tell anyone about the fertility stuff. It felt too personal. I knew you'd all help if I said cancer, and I needed the money so bad. You lied to me for 2 years. You took $22,000 from me. I know I'm a horrible person. I'm going to pay you back, I swear. When? I don't know yet. Soon. Please don't be mad. I hung up. I was too angry to keep talking. 2 weeks ago, Emma called again. This time her voice sounded different, scared. I need to tell you something. I actually am sick now. I have a blood clot in my leg. The doctor said it could be serious. I need surgery and they want to start right away. I don't have the money and I don't know what to do. I felt something cold in my chest. Are you lying again? No, I swear. I have the medical records. I can send them to you. She did send them. The paperwork looked real. The surgery was real. It cost $14,000 after insurance. But I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. Emma, I can't help you. What? Why not? Because I don't trust you anymore. You lied to me for 2 years. You made up a disease. You took tens of thousands of dollars from our whole family. Why should I believe you now? Because I'm telling you the truth. I have proof. You can call the hospital. Maybe, but I need time. I need to think about this. I don't have time. The surgery is next week. I didn't respond. I hung up. She ended up getting the surgery. My mom and our aunt helped pay for it. Emma is fine now, but she won't look at me. She sent me a message saying I was cruel and that I risked her life because of what she did before. She said she deserved another chance. My friends are split. Some say I was right not to help because she lied. Others say I should have helped anyway because her life was actually in danger. And now I know the truth. I keep thinking about it. Was I wrong? She lied, yes. She stole from me, yes. But she also needed help, and I refused. And even though it worked out because my mom stepped in, what if it hadn't? What if something bad had happened? My boss spent 3 years taking credit for my work, and when I finally confronted her, she admitted she did it on purpose, to keep me stuck. I'm a software developer. I was working at a mid-sized tech company called Nexus Digital, making $85K a year. My boss was Karen. She was in her late 40s, had been there for 12 years, and had never been promoted past senior manager. That should have been my first red flag. When I started at Nexus 3 years ago, I was excited. Karen seemed cool. She told me I had real potential and that she'd help me grow. The first 6 months, things were fine. I worked on projects, Karen reviewed my code, and we had normal meetings. Then, things got weird. I finished a major feature for our main product. It took me 6 weeks of late nights and weekends. I was proud of it. The code was clean, it worked, and it was something the company needed. When my boss presented it to the C-suite, she didn't mention me once. Not once. She called it her vision, her innovation, her leadership. I watched the video of the meeting. I'm sitting there in the recording, and she's talking about how she personally architected the whole thing. I was angry, but I didn't say anything. I figured it was a one-time thing. Maybe she forgot to give credit. Maybe she was just excited. But it kept happening. Over and over. I built a new testing framework that cut deployment time in half. Karen presented it as her framework. I redesigned our database system. Karen called it her redesign. I wrote documentation that actually made sense. Karen said she oversaw the documentation project. Every time, my name was missing. Every time it was her. After the third time, I went to her office. I knocked. She was on her phone, but waved me in. Karen, I need to talk about the database project, I said. She hung up. What about it? I designed it, I wrote the code, I tested it, but you told the team it was your design. She leaned back in her chair and smiled at me. Not a nice smile. A knowing smile. Yeah, I did, she said. I wasn't ready for that. I expected her to deny it or apologize, not to just admit it. Why would you do that? I asked. Because you're too good, she said. You're too good, and if I let people know that, you'll get promoted. You'll leave my team, and I need you here. I stared at her. I I have 3 direct reports, she continued. You're the only one who actually does good work. If you get promoted, my numbers tank. My performance reviews tank. I don't advance, so I need you to stay on my team, doing your work, while I get the credit. It's not personal, it's just how things work. That's not how things work, I said. That's stealing. It's politics, she said. Welcome to the real world. I left her office and didn't say anything. I was too shocked to respond. I went home that night and just sat on my couch for 2 hours. The next day, I went to HR. I had documentation, emails, where I outlined my work, code commits with my name, meeting notes where I explained what I was building. I had everything. The HR person was a guy named Derek. He listened to me, took my documents, and said he'd look into it. 2 weeks went by. Nothing happened. I followed up. Derek told me Karen had been reprimanded. Just a talk. No written warning. No real consequence. I asked to be transferred to another team. Derek said there were no open positions right now, but he'd keep an eye out. I knew what was happening. They were protecting her. She was part of the old guard. I was expendable. So I started looking for a new job. I found one at a bigger company, better pay, $115K. I gave 2 weeks notice. Karen called me into her office on my last day. You're really leaving? She asked. Yeah, I said. Because of me? Because of you. She nodded. I get it. But you should know, I'm being let go. Corporate found out what I did. Apparently it wasn't just you. I've been pulling this stuff for years. Different people, different projects. They're cleaning house. My new job is great. I work with people who actually give credit. My projects have my name on them. I got promoted after 8 months. Karen ended up taking a job at some startup for way less money. She went from making $140K to making $65K. Her LinkedIn still says senior manager, but everyone in the industry knows what happened now. My sister ignored every doctor's warning about her health, refused treatment, and now that she's sick, she's demanding I pay her $47,000 medical bill. Let me back up. Sarah's always been stubborn, our whole lives, but 3 years ago, she got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Her doctor sat her down, told her exactly what would happen if she didn't change her diet and start taking medication. The doctor was clear, really clear, not just some casual warning. I was at that appointment with her. I heard it myself. Sarah said she didn't want to take pills, said they had bad side effects, said she'd rather just eat better, which, fine, I get it, but she didn't eat better, she got worse. I watched her grab fast food 3 times a week. I watched her skip her follow-up appointments. I told her she was making a mistake. My mom told her. Our brother told her. She didn't care. 2 years went by like that. Nothing changed. Then last month, Sarah had a stroke. She ended up in the hospital for a week. All the tests, all the medication, all the physical therapy. When she got the bill, it was $47,000. Her insurance covered some of it, but she still owed about $18,000 out of pocket. Money she didn't have. Then she called me. Hey, I need to talk to you about something, she said. Her voice was weird, shaky. I already knew what was coming. We met for coffee the next day. Sarah looked different, tired, scared maybe. She told me about the bill, and then she asked straight up, can you help me pay for this? I didn't say yes right away. I sat there for a second, and then I said, Sarah, didn't your doctor tell you this could happen? She got quiet. Then she said, yeah, but I didn't think. You didn't think what? I cut her off. You didn't think consequences were real? You ignored everything everyone told you. I told you. Mom told you. Your own doctor told you. Sarah's eyes got red. So that's a no? I can't just give you $18,000 because you refused to listen to medical advice, I said. That's not fair to me. I've been working hard for my money. You had chances to prevent this. You're really going to let me suffer because of a mistake, she said. You made the same mistake over and over for 3 years, I told her. That's not one mistake. That's a choice. Sarah started crying. You're my sister, I need help. I felt something twist in my chest, but I also felt angry. I offered help. I offered it for 3 years. I told you to go to your appointments. I told you to take your medicine. You said no every single time. She left the coffee shop without finishing her coffee. Now my family's mad at me. My mom keeps calling, saying I'm being cold, saying family helps family no matter what. My brother texted me that I'm being cruel. Sarah posted something on Facebook about people abandoning her in her darkest hour. I know, people in our family are reading that and thinking I'm the bad guy. But here's the thing. I have my own bills. I have my own life. And I watched Sarah make the same choice to ignore her health over and over and over. I'm not angry at her for being sick. I'm angry that she had every warning and every chance to prevent this, and she chose not to listen. Sarah's working with a hospital social worker now to set up a payment plan. It's not ideal, but it's something. I keep wondering if I'm wrong for not just paying it, if being a good sister means giving money I worked for to someone who refused to help themselves, or if I'm actually right to have boundaries. So, am I the asshole? My son's 3rd grade teacher sent me an invoice for $1,200 to replace a desk he damaged. When I refused, she called my boss and lied about what happened. Let me back up. My kid, Marcus, he's 8 years old. Good kid, gets decent grades, a little rowdy sometimes but nothing crazy. His teacher was Mrs. Chen. She'd been teaching at the school for 2 years, and honestly I'd never had issues with her before. One day I pick Marcus up from school, and he's acting weird, quiet. I ask him what's wrong and he says Mrs. Chen is mad at him. I don't think much of it. Teachers get mad at kids all the time. But then 2 days later, I get an email from the school. It's from Mrs. Chen. Subject line, damaged school property, payment required. I open it up, and my eyes go wide. She's telling me Marcus damaged his desk during class. Apparently he was messing around, leaning back in his chair, and he knocked the desk over. She says the desk is now broken and needs to be replaced. Cost, $1,200. $1,200. I call the school immediately. I get the principal, Mr. Harris, on the phone. Mr. Harris, I got this email from Mrs. Chen about a desk. This seems crazy. How much does a third-grade desk actually cost? There's a pause. Well, it depends on the desk. Some are more expensive than others. But $1,000? That's insane. That's a teacher's desk, not a piece of furniture. I understand your frustration. Let me look into this. 2 hours later, Mr. Harris calls me back. Turns out the school buys desks for about $150 each, not $1,200. Mrs. Chen had marked up the price herself. When Mr. Harris confronted her, she said she was charging me for labor and materials and emotional distress from having to deal with a damaged desk. I'm not going to pay that. I tell Mr. Harris no way. He agrees it's not reasonable and says the school will handle it through their insurance. Thing is, I tell him I want to talk to Mrs. Chen myself. I want to understand what her problem is. The next day, I go to the school. I walk into her classroom after school hours. Mrs. Chen is there cleaning up. Mrs. Chen, we need to talk about this desk situation. She looks at me and her face gets hard. Your son damaged school property. You owe me $1,200. The desk costs $150. Why are you charging me $1,200? Because I had to spend my time dealing with this. My time is valuable. I take a breath. Look, I'm sorry Marcus knocked over a desk, but kids do that sometimes. The school has insurance. You can't just make up a bill and send it to parents. Your son is disrespectful and careless. If you paid attention to him, instead of working all day, maybe he wouldn't act like this. I feel my face get hot. Don't talk to me like that. I'm not paying $1,200 for a $150 desk. Then you're a deadbeat parent, she says, turning her back to me. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows it. I leave. I'm angry, but I'm trying to stay calm. 2 days later, my boss calls me into his office. My boss is a serious guy, not the type to joke around. We need to talk, he says. I got a call from someone at your son's school, a teacher. She said you refused to pay for damage your son caused, and that you were abusive toward her. She said you yelled at her and called her names. My stomach drops. That's not what happened. That's what she said. She was very upset. She's lying. I went to talk to her about an unreasonable bill. I didn't yell. I didn't call her names. She called me a deadbeat parent. My boss looks at me like he doesn't know what to believe. That's when I lose it. Not in front of my boss, but after. I go home and I'm thinking about what Mrs. Chen did. She lied to my boss. She tried to get me in trouble at work, over a desk. I call the school the next morning and ask for a meeting with Mr. Harris, the principal, and Mrs. Chen. We all sit down in his office. I have my phone with me. Mrs. Chen, I say, did you call my boss yesterday? I called to discuss your behavior. And what exactly did you tell him? I told him you were aggressive and refused to take responsibility. Did you tell him I yelled at you? You were very loud. Did I call you any names? She doesn't answer. Because I recorded our conversation, I say. I pull up the audio file on my phone. I'm going to play it for Mr. Harris. I hit play. The recording is clear. Me asking about the bill, her refusing to budge, her calling me a deadbeat parent. Me staying calm the whole time. Mr. Harris's face goes red. Mrs. Chen, why did you lie to this man's employer? I didn't lie. He was disrespectful. You called him a deadbeat parent on this recording. You made false statements to his boss. That's not acceptable. Mrs. Chen stands up. I'm not staying for this. You're not staying because you got caught, I say. Mr. Harris tells her to sit down. She refuses. He tells her she needs to write a formal apology to me and to my boss, or she's fired. She walks out instead. 3 weeks later, Mrs. Chen is gone. The school fired her for making false statements to an employer and for trying to extort money from a parent. She applied for jobs at other schools in the district. Nobody would hire her once they found out what she did. Marcus got a new teacher, a good one, and Mrs. Chen learned that you don't mess with people's jobs. My ex-business partner stole $500,000 from our company. And when I found out, I didn't just sue her, I destroyed her entire life. Let me back up. My name's Marcus, I'm 42, and for 15 years I ran a commercial cleaning business with my best friend since college, David. We started it in 2008 with nothing, built it from the ground up. By 2023, we had 40 employees, contracts with major office buildings, and we were pulling in about $2 million a year. I was the operations guy. David handled the books. I trusted him completely. That was my mistake. I only found out something was wrong by accident. My accountant called me in March to ask why we were missing paperwork for a $500,000 invoice. I said we never issued any invoice like that. That's when things started falling apart. I dug through the records myself. David had been transferring money to shell companies for 3 years. 50 grand here, 30 grand there, hundreds of small transfers that added up to over $500,000. He'd forged my signature on checks, altered the books, made it look like we were paying vendors that didn't exist. I called him immediately. We need to talk now. He showed up at the office around noon. I had printed out every single transaction. David, what the hell is this? He looked at the papers and his face went white. Marcus, I can explain. Can you? Because it looks like you've been stealing from me for 3 years. From us. From the company we built together. He started sweating. I had some debts. Bad investments. I was going to pay it back, I swear. You were going to pay back $500,000? When, David? When were you going to pay back money you stole from your best friend? He tried to get me to make a deal. Look, we can work this out. We've been friends forever. Don't destroy me over this. I told him to get out of my office. That's when I made the decision that changed everything. I could have sued him. I could have just taken the money and ended the partnership. But David had done something else that made me furious. While he was stealing from the company, he was telling everyone that he was the real reason we were successful. He was taking credit for my work. He'd been bragging to clients that he built the business, that I was just the hired help. I'd heard about it from employees who felt awkward, so I didn't just go after him. I went after everything. First, I hired a forensic accountant and a lawyer. We filed criminal charges for embezzlement. That was step 1. But step 2 was where it got nuclear. I knew David's entire financial life. His wife was a real estate agent, his kids went to private school, he had a mortgage on a $1.2 million house, he drove a Range Rover. All of it was built on stolen money. I reported that he'd been running shell companies to hide income. I provided every document. Then I reached out to the mortgage company. I showed them that the money used to buy the house came from fraudulent transfers. The house was financed based on false financial statements. I also contacted his wife's real estate license board. Not to complain about her, but to make sure they knew her husband was under criminal investigation for fraud. You'd be surprised how much that affects business. Then I went to his kids' private school and informed them that the tuition payments were made with stolen funds. The school had to report it. I made sure his mugshot from the arrest was circulated. I called every single client we had and explained exactly what David had done. Half of them dropped him immediately. The rest got nervous about doing business with someone under federal investigation. Within 3 months, here's what happened. David was charged with federal embezzlement and fraud. The IRS launched an investigation into his taxes. The mortgage company started foreclosure on the house. His wife's real estate business collapsed because no one wanted to work with a family under federal investigation. His kids' school asked them to withdraw because of the scandal. It was brutal, but it was exactly the justice I needed. He tried to negotiate a plea deal. His lawyer called me. Mr. Marcus, my client wants to know if you'd be willing to drop the charges if he pays back the money. I said no. David ended up taking a plea deal anyway. 18 months federal prison, $1 million fine, restitution. His marriage fell apart during the trial. His wife took the kids and moved to another state. He served his time. When he got out, he had nothing. The house was gone. His savings were gone. His reputation was destroyed. He couldn't get a job because his felony conviction followed him everywhere. Last I heard, he was working at a warehouse making minimum wage. I know some people would say I went too far, that I should have just sued him and moved on. But David didn't just steal money from me. He stole years of trust. He stole credit for work that wasn't his. He lied to my face while pretending to be my friend. So yeah, I destroyed him.